John Taylor had it right. The happiest political warrior on the planet, my buddy Doy Henley. Doy Henley, I want to give you a little insight into Doy. Doy was born in Mount Vernon Township in downstate Illinois. He calls it the Queen City of the South, 6,000 people when he was there. Son of Glenn and Pearl Henley, he had a 20-year gap between his sister and him. I've often wondered where in the world a terrible name like Doy would come from, and so in preparing these little remarks, I leaned on him pretty hard this time and said, "You got to come clean, fella. Where did it come from?" His sister was named Helen. Many girls were named Helen in those days, so when she was in school, the bell would ring and somebody asked for Helen, everybody stood up. She said, "I'm going to put one on my younger brother that nobody will have," and nobody does. She's the one that placed the name Doy on Doy Henley. Queen City of the South is located between Casey Creek and the Big Muddy River. I looked that up. I found that to be a little strange when I was looking at it, when I was talking to Henley about that, and he verified that. You can't make this stuff up. 1952, Henley said, "Enough of this, and I'm heading west. I've heard there's good things out there." And as he came out, he had been following his father's footsteps, who was building railroad cars in Mount Vernon in Illinois, and he came out here and got a job in the aerospace industry with a company called the McCullough Aerospace Company. Called Dee and said, "Dee, I found the promised land. I'm coming to get you." Brought his lovely bride all the way out to California, set up housekeeping there, had 2 children, Sue and David. David served in the military in the Vietnam War, and he became very successful. In 1992, he decided to start Airmail. He did something then is unique, and it's probably touched all of our hearts and stuff as we've looked at entrepreneurs that have enjoyed success, and this is a room full of them right now. In 1992, he started Airmail, and he was convinced there was a better way to machine steel. He got involved with the aerospace industry, and that time titanium was coming in, and the CNC, that means computer numerical control of machining processes, were doing straight lines. He went to Japan, was the first guy to bring a CNC control machine back that could do curves. If you think of airplanes, you extend the wings on the front and the back. Those are called slat tracks and flap tracks. I got involved in all this stuff with Henley over the years. And he made a fortune because he could make those things with a CNC machine. He was the first guy to do it. And he sold them to McDonnell Douglas, and he sold them to Boeing, and he sold them all those things, and he made himself a pile of money. And that's part of the funds that we've been having a lot of fun with over the years. But they were in the SR-71, the U-2s, Kelly Patterson. I mean, all of the big names and stuff in the aerospace world know the name of Doy Henley because he was the first guy to do that. Airmail engineering was a wonderful success, and he sold it out in 1997 and made another pile, which we helped him spend some. 1975, Henley joined the Orange County Lincoln Club. I happened to be in that pledge class. The 2 of us had more fun than the law allows, and we don't want everybody to know what kind of fun we were having, but we did get in several things. One of the things we got into was Ed Royce is sitting right down here. We got involved in the deal with Royce, and we had elected him to the Senate on a long shot deal that we had absolutely no right to win, running against a guy named Frank Barbero, who's a big deal today, but we kicked him around pretty good in the early 80s. And we get involved, and Ed says, "We've got a fundraiser, and I've got this gal, Jean Kirkpatrick." I said, "She's the UN rep, right?" I said, "Yeah, that's the gal." I said, "My God, that's a pretty big name." So I called my buddy Henley, and I said, "Henley, Ed's got this gal, Jean Kirkpatrick." He says, "I know her." I said, "Come on, Henley, you don't know her." He said, "She went to high school with me." "You're talking about at the Big Muddy and the Clever Creek down there?" He said, "Yeah, that's the one. She went to high school at Mount Vernon High School." So we end up getting all gussied up to go up the event there, and as we approach, she's a very stern woman, as you could well know, and you see those kind of outfits she wore. As we're walking up to her, Colleen and I are walking along with Dee and Doy. As we're going to present to her, he starts singing the Mount Vernon High School fight song. Jean Kirkpatrick broke into tears right there. I loved it. It was a warm night for me watching all that stuff take place. Then we started the deal called Project 90. This was a hell of an idea. Cronin was in it, and Henley, we got a whole bunch of, got all fussed up and tricked people out of their money on Project 90. We're going to take control of the legislature. We were given, that was our bent. And doggone it, if we didn't get a bunch of guys, then we get all pumped up around the state, and we end up electing a majority of Republicans in the California State Assembly. It was a hell of a time. You remember that, Ed? And that But one thing about it is we had an idiot named Paul Horcher who was up here, and Horcher, you watch Hewitt laugh down here, he was in on this deal. What happens then is Horcher decides to throw in with the Democrats because they gave him some money. We then went back and checked the records. 1914, where's Pete sitting around here somewhere? 1914 was the last successful recall in California in 1914. We got all the record books and stuff, and we got Eastman who reads all that stuff and understands it. And we said, why don't we recall the SOB? And so we all got together, and doggone if we didn't, we recalled him and replaced him with Gary Miller. Shortly thereafter, Doris Allen got all excited. We got the majority here. And what she does, she gets all excited about being next to Willie Brown. And doggone it, if she doesn't vote for Willie Brown, or gets Willie Brown to put her in as the Speaker of the Assembly, along with the Democrat votes. And we were really mad then. And so then what we did is we recalled her. That was the next year. We got this recall fever going pretty good, and we put a guy in there named Scott Ball, was the one that stepped in. Where's Scott sitting around here? There's old Scott. We brought him out of the wings, put Scott in there, and now we're all full of ourselves. You know, we're pretty excited stuff. And that's when we get the idea that we ought to jerk out the governor. We've got Gray Davis in there, and so we get a bunch of guys in this room here, and Ellie and I, we all get fired up on this deal. And we find out Isa has sold his that burglar alarm company. That's an awful business he had. But he's sitting on a pile of money, and we say, we'll elect you the governor if you'll put some money in this deal. He said, I'm in, let's go. And did we ever? We had more fun than all else on that thing. And then one day I get just a little insight into Henley. I get a call, and Henley says, I'm the biggest airplane manufacturer in the world now. I said, what the hell do you do? Buy a Boeing or McDonnell Douglas or something? He said, come over here. I got to show it to you. I go over there, and damned if he hadn't bought Cox Hobbies. Cox Hobbies is the biggest airplane manufacturer. The airplanes are about this big, a little remote control thing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with here. 28 years ago, Doy Henley went on the board of Chapman University. He didn't spend a lot of time in college. He skipped over that before he could get a real job, but he got all gussied up about Chapman University. He has had more fun over there, and currently he serves as the vice chairman of the board. And that if you looked at that video, you notice good things being said about Henley by two people specifically, Argyris and Jim Doty. If you knew how much money he's given Chapman University, you'd know how enthusiastic those people were. That is no mistake, grant you that. Henley was another side to Henley that I think you'll get a kick out of is that he loves to ride motorcycles. Now, he doesn't tell everybody this, but he loves to ride motorcycles. He'd ridden them with Chris Cox and a bunch of strange people. And that he got carried away, and he got into the Baker to, it's a Barstow to Baker run. And he gets him a big Yamaha, and he's got his name on his leathers and all this kind of stuff called Yamaha Red. And Yamaha Red competed in that for many years until Dee finally said, that's enough of that foolishness, and shut that down. But it was a great experience there. I have to say that Colin and I have had such good fortune to be close friends. We've traveled the world together. We've been to Ireland. We've been all over the damn place, the air show and things. It's been a labor of love that you're experiencing now, and I enjoyed what we're talking about here, about the friendships that you make, and you can't make better friends than the people that are in this room. And he's an iconic figure. He's had an unbelievably staggering success pattern. And I happen to have the good fortune to have been a close friend of Doy Henley's for these 37 years. I'd like for you to say hello to my good buddy, one of the most unique people on this planet, and to use the good expression right there that we got from John Taylor, the happiest political warrior you'll ever run into, my buddy Doy Henley.